I'm David Orgel. I have a video production company called Story by Image. I'm located in Orange County, California. Starting January in 2025, I have $14,000 in consistent revenue, whereas in January the previous year, I had $0 in consistent revenue.
Hell yeah. What is going on, guys? I'm super excited to have David on the YouTube channel because it's been a long time coming. And dude, I want all the people that are in the collective to succeed, but you in particular, man, like you're just so freaking good. Like the work that you do is on a whole nother level. By the way, David is the guy with the red camera. Uh, and like if you go look at his stuff, like it is top notch level production, high quality work. And I'm like, dude, this guy deserves more. You know what I mean? Like he deserves to have everything that he wants to have. And so I was just really excited to be working with you one-on-one, dude, and really just helping you, just get to that next place in your business. But okay, so you got an awesome result. You're obviously still, working towards even a bigger one, which is great. So that's something we're still working through right now, but just a massive achievement because, obviously having reoccurring revenue is a huge weight off the shoulders. But take us back to, your business, back in January 2024, right? And what were some of the things that you were struggling with in your business that then encouraged you to want to work with me?
Yeah, I think if I go back to that time, I think I was kind of at a place of, I don't know if I am cut out to be a business owner. I don't know, like, if this is kind of the path for me because I had been doing it for like 6 years, 7 years, and had been struggling just kind of with sales mainly. Like everyone who knows me, I'm very open. Like I'm not good at sales, like, and I don't really understand how it works. And especially when it comes to like the work that I do, I feel so confused and like many thoughts and emotions around selling my own services.
Yeah.
And so I think when I interacted with you, you felt like a genuine person that I could actually trust. I think I see a lot of people online on Instagram who are kind of like pushing their ideas and their programs, and a lot of that stuff doesn't feel authentic. A lot of that stuff just doesn't. It feels like you just kind of have a system. It's going to be, I don't know, a little heartless and a little bit just like, not sellout is the word that comes to mind, but I don't mean that.
Dude, lay it out how it is.
Yeah, I think there's great value in some of those things for specific people. But for me, I really care about the work that I'm doing. And so to fit it into like an online program or a way to like a system of selling or anything that sounds like internety, Instagram kind of things, they kind of immediately like put me off. But I think I saw a lot of your longer form content on YouTube, and I was like, oh, cool. Like you've been where I was or where I am. You're being pretty open with like how much you're sharing. And then I think jumping on a call with you was just like, oh, cool. Like you're like a real person who's actually going to talk with me and help me work through like what I specifically need, because I don't do well with just like, here's a course, go for it. You're on your own. I'm a bad student. That's why I got into filmmaking. And so I really just need like truly like a friend, someone who's ahead of me to be like, hey, here's what we're going to do this week. Here's the next step. Here's the next step. And help me find a way to make the system, break it, change it so it fits towards what I want it to be and how it feels like in my own voice, and not just like a copy and paste. Here's what I'm going to just copy and paste. Just do this, say these words. It's like, no, it has to also come from me and feel like I'm proud of this too,
Yeah. I would say, to sum it up, I would say David is an artist at heart, and he didn't want to sell out with sounding like salesy and just like you said, Instagram-y, where it's just like, like the typical, we all know what we're talking about. We all, and man, like, it was definitely a transition. Us like, working together. Okay. So you came on, we spoke. You're like, okay, this guy seems like he's a real dude. He's genuine. Let's do it. Let's work together. I guess what were some of the challenges that you had as kind of going through the process, and then what were some of the roadblocks and different things like that?
Once I started with you,
Yeah.
yeah, I think once I started, first of all, once I started with you, I was stoked. I immediately was like, and I said this before, but I'm like, oh man, like you're like a good guy, like you're like a good person. I think there was a little
Yeah.
bit still of hesitancy of like, what am I getting myself into when I commit? So jumping in and actually going through the whole course that's built out, going through a couple of first meetings was like, cool. Like there's actually so much here that's very valuable and exactly what I need as a filmmaker.
All right.
Uh,
Good.
so like, yeah, that was awesome. I felt like immediately
Yeah.
like just happy that I made the like I didn't get scammed. Honestly, that's literally what I'm kind of feeling.
Yeah.
Like, I
I
don't
think
know
it's
scam,
great.
but what was challenging was just the mental side of things. Like I don't naturally have a ton of confidence, and I don't naturally like promote my business. And so I think when it's like, hey, we're gonna write our messaging, we're gonna start running ads, like we're gonna start writing out scripts, and then you get to record them and then run them. And it was like, okay, cool, let me just do the work. And sat down, tried to do it, and it just felt like there was so much mental blocks that were getting in the way that I couldn't put my finger on of like, what's really holding me back? What's really stopping me? Because I would just show up to the next meeting to you and be like, next week, you're like, yo, what's the progress? What have you made? I'm like, like I was busy. I didn't get to do this. Like, whatever. I don't know. I just didn't get to it. And
Yeah.
so I think in the beginning, it was just like, actually, that's when I learned that there is something here that is holding me back. Like,
Yeah.
there's a little bit of like mental challenge of like, I do struggle with promoting my own business. I do struggle like being vocal, like, hey, you should work with me. And why
Yeah.
is that? Like, and it kind of made me just sit and confront that and go like, no, I'm proud of my work. Like I love the work that I do. Like, yeah, I love the people that I've gotten to work with. Actually, I've gotten a lot of great testimonials. Like, let me go look at those. And just doing that work of like, okay, great. I feel more confident about talking about my work now going through that process. But yeah, for me, it was just the challenge of being someone who can talk about like my work easily and being open to like a sales conversation, being excited for a sales conversation. And I think part of that too was like, I didn't know that sales was a skill that you could learn. Like
Mm,
that, I just thought some people were good at it. Some people were like,
yeah.
oh, they just can convince people. And yeah, I think that was something I didn't know that.
Yeah.
No one really was like, hey man, you could like invest in getting better at sales. Like you could do that.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, and that's the thing too. And I think we had this conversation where I'm like, look, dude, sales is just a conversation of can you actually help someone? Yes or no? You know? And obviously there's some tactics and different things that you can do to obviously like improve, right? And get better and some things to say, some things not to say, right? But I think more than anything else, I tell people all the time, look, sales is just a transfer of energy. Like I am not the best salesperson. Uh, but what I do have is conviction. I believe in my product and I believe that I can help people. And so it is my responsibility. If I believe that I can help people, then it is my responsibility and obligation to convince them to want to work with me because especially if you know you can help them, right? If you don't know you can help them, well, then obviously that's going to be difficult, right? But in that sense, it's just like, hey, man, well, you have a problem. I have a solution. Well, let's see if it's a good fit. And if it is, well, then great. Let's work together, you know? Uh, and so, okay, really good stuff. I guess what would you say was, I mean, so you talked about that, like part of getting better at it was getting more of that conviction by listening to some of these testimonials and some of the work that you've done? Or was there something else that was like a big shift where you're like, okay, I finally feel more comfortable promoting, talking about what I do and how I can help people?
yeah, honestly, it's this is just my story, so it's not for everyone. But like getting in person with you and everyone else, like definitely unlocked something for me.
Like at the
Um,
collective, you mean?
the
Yeah.
collective in
Yeah.
Texas, and uh, shout out to Luis. This is just a little testimonial. I at the time could not afford a plane ticket to go there. I was like, dude, it just doesn't work for me. Like, I'm not coming. And we came up with a deal. Luis helped me get there and paid for my plane ticket, and that literally was like that changed so much for me. It's just like actually being there in person, and like there's just such a different energy and connection when you're just sat down next to each other and just being like, hey, I'm this is hard, this part's hard for me, like talk me through. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Spinning out, like going through the details and just actually being like, yeah, why is that holding me back? And then also seeing like other people all around that were like literally exactly like me, going through some of the same things and stepping into it. I think some of their confidence and like seeing people film their own ads, write their own scripts, and being like, okay, this guy can do it. Like, okay, I can do it too. Like, there was a little bit of like, gave me permission to step into it more, because it's like we're all doing this. Like, and it's not because any of us want to be like famous or like promote ourselves on Instagram. It's like, no, we're videographers. Like, we love doing our job and we want to do more of it. This is a great way to get more customers. And so there was just some power there of like, yeah, encouragement from being in person. And that's kind of just what works for me, is like having someone to really look me in the eyes and like go with me step by step. Because besides that, it's like I just get lost, I get overwhelmed, and then I quit and just do what I've been doing.
Sure. No, that makes total sense. And I think, we were talking about this earlier where you said, well, like I got to borrow the beliefs, or, you kind of said something along those lines. Was that also kind of like what happened, just being able to see everybody there too, or you just kind of got to borrow their confidence, borrow their beliefs?
I think honestly at that time, I think that happened earlier, and more just like our relationship and being like, okay, cool. If I'm going to move into selling ads as a part of my service, I feel like really hesitant about moving forward with that and not confident to sell that at all. But when I realized like, no, like you're going to help me with every step of that. And so it's like, oh, Luis is actually part of my team. Like, he's a resource. So if I run into any problems, like I could literally call this guy. We could figure it out together. Like, there was just this like added sense of like, because of your confidence, I was able to also kind of borrow that. So when I speak to people about my work, I'm not just speaking about myself only. I'm thinking like, no, me, my team, Luis, like people who are going to help make this process happen, which is bigger than me. And that always, I think for me, just adds confidence. To being like, yeah, we're going to kill it 100%.
Yeah. No, and I remember having that conversation with you where I was like, dude, like, I was like, stop thinking like a freelancer. Like, you're an entrepreneur, you're a business person. And that means that you build a team around you to also fortify you, or and kind of like help you with your blind spots, or help you with the things that maybe you're not so great at. So one of those things is like, yeah, maybe you don't feel so great, confident about ads, but I'm here and I'm part of your team and I'm confident. So let's do it,
100%. And just having someone even to like doing a couple sales calls and just like jumping into like a debrief a little bit is honestly just like feels helpful. It feels like, oh, we're kind of like figuring this out together, rather than like, oh, I just did a sales call, like it didn't go well, and I'm just like, oh, I don't even want to think about like how to get better, because that just like was painful. It's like, we get to go like, oh, dude, this wasn't good, like this happened, but it's like a shared kind of thing now, like a team almost, where it's just like, oh, like bummer, like that sucks, but like, okay, cool, like let's try that again, like let's try, what if we did this, what if we did this, like it makes it less personal, and like gives some, like we look at it from an outside perspective, I think. But I wanted to say about the going to the time in Texas, it felt like if you've ever done a cold plunge or something and it's like the first time and it's like, oh, everyone's telling you it's going to be good for you, like you got to jump in the water, like, yeah, it's going to be cold, like, but it's really good for you. You're going to feel so much better after you do it. It's that like the moment right before you jump into the cold water and you're like, I know this is good for me, but my body is saying this is going to be a little painful. Like, I just felt that like hesitancy. And I think being in person and just seeing everyone else jump in the water, it's like, oh, cool. All right, let me just try this. And like, yeah, it wasn't easy. It wasn't fun. But once I had jumped in, then it like unlocked so much. I was like, oh, it's not bad in here. Like, oh, I could try this. I could try this. Like, it kind of just like, it broke some barrier down.
Yeah, man. Sometimes it just takes seeing other people do it.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I love the community aspect of what we're doing, the collective aspect, where it's like, sometimes you just don't know what you don't know, and oftentimes it's like you're so used to doing things your own way that you don't even know what's possible. And I think it's like, well, and this is the same thing just when it comes to business. Like the way that $1 million entrepreneur operates versus a $10,000 one is completely different. And oftentimes it is just a matter of being around them and seeing them how they operate, because like you never even thought that operating like that was possible. And so being able to just to hang out with them, and like see that, I think too is just like a really massive unlock where it's like, oh, well, all I have to do is do these similar things, and then I'll kind of be on that same path almost.
Yes.
And so same thing with this, and that's like super cool. And that's why, yeah, man, like the collectives was definitely one of the best experiences I've had. Like even me just doing that, putting that on for you guys, like one of the best experiences I've ever had in my entire life. It was so fulfilling, and yeah, it's just super cool, like being able to connect with you guys like on a in person, which was so nice. And I felt like a lot of the people after that just kind of like exploded. You being one of them, and I think maybe that's like being that having that unlock, attending these events and then kind of coming out of it. So that's so cool. So, but before we get into that, um, what was the way that you were doing acquisition prior to being in the program? Because obviously that was one of the big reasons why you wanted to join. You wanted to figure out how to like grow the business, bring on more clients. But how were you growing the business before, and what were some of the challenges that you were facing from that side?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. Before, again, my personal beliefs, I was growing the business by the grace of God. Like I literally told people, I literally just months, I'm just praying and like hoping, like literally God sends me clients because it's happened before. So that's
Yes.
just how a lot of this happened, how I
Yes.
got here today. And then B, it was just like doing work again and again for people. So I'd do a great job for one client. He'd tell me, hey, I have a friend. I get an email. Hey, can I help you? And like jump into that relationship. So it was all kind of word of mouth and like networks that I was kind of in, just being like, hey, I can help you with video if you need it. But I didn't know really how to pursue that. But I knew I needed to do sales. So I tried a bunch of different things. At one point, I went door to door to dentists because I had done a dentist project before. So I just cold walked in the door.
I
Uh,
didn't know you had done that.
yeah, it's like,
Yeah, dude. Props to you, man. Respect.
but I was like, hey man, like I'm David, I'm local, like I could help you, help someone else. Like immediate, like no, like person's not here. One person was nice, heard me out, but didn't result in anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did that, and then I think just like emailing people, trying to follow up with people, but it truly was hard because I'd just sit down and be like, okay, I know I need to do sales. Like, what should I do? Like, what should I do? Like, should I text someone? Should I like go research in my area and just like cold email? Should I cold DM? Should I like, yeah, it was really just like, I don't know what to
Mm-hmm.
do more sales. And that was like very frustrating. And I felt like it's just the part that I don't want to do either. So there's no motivation to do more of it. Like I love making videos. I just wish I
Mm-hmm.
could just show up and do what I love doing. That's why I wanted, that's why I got into this in the first place.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I think it was just trying anything and everything and pursuing a lot of doors, but really honestly just not knowing what to do. And at the time, looking on YouTube, looking for other people to like, hey, is anyone like doing this also? And I think that's probably how we got connected.
Yeah.
Showed up in the algorithm, and I was like,
Did
dude,
you find me on YouTube or on Instagram?
Instagram.
Oh, okay. And then you
Dude,
checked out my.
just with an ad, and then I went over there like these are all really really like helpful things like, and then I
Yeah.
went to YouTube and it was good. Done.
All right. Good
Good
stuff.
system. It's a good system.
And dude, like so you had a lot of one-off projects, you were getting clients off referrals, and thankfully, I mean, like you obviously do great work, and so that was getting you some referrals, but it was still just one-time projects and a lot of like some good months, some bad months. Am I correct in saying that?
100%.
Yeah. Okay. How'd that feel, dude? Just not knowing that you were gonna like where the next client was gonna come from.
Yeah, honestly, Yeah, it's been one of the biggest challenges of my life, probably, of just going through those times of just like, dude, I don't know how we're going to get to the next month. Like, I don't know where that next client is going to come from. It definitely felt like um, just kind of like lost. Like, I just really didn't know why it wasn't working. And yeah, I think just probably beat myself up more than I should have. Uh, and just like, I don't know. I think just honestly a feeling of like, what am I doing? Like, is this the right path for me? Like, should I reconsider my life journey basically? And should I
Yeah.
be doing something differently? Should I like, I just felt very like, in those times, very just lost and just like, man, I just don't know if I'm, if I, A, if I'm doing the right thing, and then B, what should I do to do this differently?
Yeah.
So that's probably a good summary. Never a good feeling.
Yeah.
Uh,
Never a good feeling, dude. Wow. Well, thanks for sharing that. I mean, okay, so we went through all this process. Worked. You came on board. We worked together. We broke through some limiting beliefs, some
yeah,
mental barriers, right? What we finally, I remember helped you direct, like I kind of directed your first video. We
yes,
were at the collective, because at the collective, guys, like we're not just, it's not just like speakers and lessons. Like we want to get stuff done, like I always tell people, look, you go to events and you feel great and you're motivated, but then you go back home and like nothing happens because, then life hits you, right? It's like, let's come to these events and let's actually get stuff done. Like that way you can have some real momentum. So we shot David's first video, his first ad.
it literally
And
just
then,
live watch me struggle through it. Just like,
yeah, we had a talking head on some red raw footage, which was awesome. uh, and then you took that home, you edited, and dude, once you put that out, I was like, holy crap, man. Like, this is so good. Like that first video you did was so awesome. Like, and then what? Like, walk us through the process, right? Like, I mean, I guess I know what happened, but just so you tell the audience.
yeah, I felt like immediately how most people, I see it in the group again and again, where it's like you run your ad for the first time, and you're like, why did someone not just like grab me by the collar and just go like, you have to do this? Like,
I was trying to do that virtually for like 3 months prior to getting you to the event until I finally got you. I mean, I dragged you to the event because I'm like, no, this guy needs to be here.
literally actually did that. Like,
Yeah.
fully did that. Yeah, and I needed that because I was very resistant to it. But I
Yeah.
think once I was able to get beyond that and just go, cool, let's just dive in. It's gonna suck the first iteration. It's not gonna be everything I want it to be, but it's gonna be something. And let's see. So we turn it on, and immediately people are like responding to it, messaging me, and I'm just like, this is insane that I just was able to communicate with people who are in my area, who are actually qualified, who have seen me, heard me talk, seen my videos, and been like, yeah, I think like I'd love to learn more and work together. And it was just like that truly changed my perspective on how business and marketing can work for me, like forever. I think that was like the biggest shift of like,
Yeah.
this is like when you cut together and you finish your first video and you're like, wow, like, and you add like, you color it, you spend some time on it, and you're like, man, like, how did like all these little steps that weren't that great, now it comes out and it's like this amazing thing, like it's almost like magic. Like, I
Yeah.
felt like that's kind of the same kind of process of like, this is a tool and a path that can lead to some amazing outcomes of actually getting connected to the right people. And the
Yeah.
reason I love it the most was like, I felt like I was able to be myself, even though I still have feelings about the ads. And, it's always uncomfortable, I think, putting myself on camera
Yeah.
and posting it to the world. But just like jumping into a sales call where I'm meeting a brand new person and they have already kind of met me and they know my work and they like my work. And they're like, man, I loved how you were talking on the ads. You felt like a real person. Like, and I love the vibe of what you guys were doing. So I wanted to talk. It was like, dude, that compared to walking into a dentist office and being like, hey, you don't know me, but you should hire me. Dude, unbelievable. Like, I pay so much for that. Like,
Well, to have a nice little like what's the word? Just a position. I don't know if that's the right word or not. But like so you went to go knock on this dentist that dentist doors where you were like begging for work, right? And
dude,
then the first booked call that you got, which I think you spent less than $100 and you got this person reaching out to you was what? Like this LA ophthalmologist that
yeah,
probably does like I don't know how many millions of dollars per year. It's like what? How do you go from this to this, dude? That's insane.
crazy. And I literally, I don't know if this matters or not, but the funniest thing was that was my first booked appointment from the ads. I walk
Yeah.
into the optometrist. It's like this fancy place. Going in, I'm a little nervous, but I got my computer, I got my pitch. We're going to talk for an hour. I'm going to go through it with this lady. I go to the front desk. I'm waiting. She's like, oh, yeah, I'll go get her. And then this other guy comes in. And he looks kind of like my age. He looks kind of like similar. And he walks into the front desk and goes, hey, like, we're doing like marketing. I'm in like the area. He was doing a cold walk in to sell his services on marketing. And so literally, we're standing next to each other. The lady comes out and goes, like, who are you? To the guy who just walked in and goes like, hey, David, I'm so glad you're here. Let me handle this, and then I'll come and sit down with you. Talked to the guy for 2 minutes. He left, and then was like, I'm so happy you're here. Come back, spent an hour hearing my like sales pitch. And it was just like, that is literally, I was laughing so hard because I was like, that is truly the difference of like what I was used to like what this has kind of allowed me to have is like, oh my gosh, she knows me. She's wanting to see me. She wants to sit down with me. Like we like that. It was just hilarious.
Dude, that is crazy. Yeah, that's amazing. No, dude, it's so good. And I mean, like, I guess talk to me a little bit about you said like, oh man, like I wanted to make sure whatever I put out like was genuine. I mean, I personally did feel like what you did put out was very genuine and it was yourself and your voice. And I guess I want the audience to know that I'm like, hey, dude, you can promote yourself and you can still be an artist. Like you can like without sacrificing this side of you. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, because my heart goes out to the creatives. Like I'm a creative. And I think that's one of the things we vibed on, right? And I don't know, like, so how, like, I don't know, what are your thoughts on all that? I guess.
Yeah, I think I don't know. The first thing that comes to mind is like, for as embarrassing as it is, like there's some part of me or something that is like it needs to come off and look cool or something, or like I just feel like if I do that, I'm just gonna look like a phony. Like I don't even like I don't believe those thoughts, but it's like there's just that part that's just like no, like that's not me. Like I'm like too cool for that. Basically, like I never had those thoughts directly, but I think that's kind of the vibe there,
Yeah.
and it's a little bit like ah, no one really explained that like if you do ads like right, a you're serving people, and b you can just be like yourself and show up and do them how you would like to do. You don't have to like follow an exact script. Like there are just like in filmmaking, there are like frameworks and like tools and like, hey, this if you follow this framework, it tells a really good story.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean there's no life and heart and like power in specific stories that you tell. It means like there's a framework here. And it's like the same thing can be applied to me of just like, oh, like I don't have to just go and try to pretend like I'm someone I'm not. I can apply a framework to who I already am and then share that. And then that way people can actually listen to me and understand what I do easily and I can connect with the right people. And I think just those things coming together was like, okay, now I feel like this makes sense for me because before I just thought like, I don't know. I just thought it wouldn't fit me well or just wouldn't like represent me well if I was like,
Yeah.
yo, work for me, like click the link in the description. Like there's just all this like mental baggage I think around that where it's just like, how about like do you just want to like have a conversation with someone who might be a good fit, who you could actually really help with your work? It's really awesome to use this platform, this tool to do that. Like
Yeah.
so yeah, I don't know if that answered your question, but
That's amazing. No, 100%. And so I remember I was so excited, dude, when you finally launched those ads and then you started getting like book calls and stuff. That's so great. And then, that then came the sales piece. And we did some work on that. we start bringing on some clients. We're bringing on some 5K retainers, 3K retainers. That's so amazing. So you think, you're really at a good place right now. How does it feel now? How does it feel knowing that, hey, next month I'm going to be getting this amount, and like, how's life changed for you? Well, one, how has life changed now that you have a predictable way to bring on clients? And then two, that you actually have like some stable income.
Yeah, I think one, there's just like such just renewed like passion and excitement that I have a tool that I can use to get sales. And I think before I was just like, man, I was just frustrated and didn't know what to do. And I think now that I have a better understanding of how marketing works, I have a better understanding of how, like, a process of how I can actually do sales that can lead to consistent results. I think it's just like a new excitement of like, oh man, like I'm just at the beginning of this. Like I feel like I have this new tool now. And again, it's like when you first make your first video where you start getting into filmmaking and you see these amazing films and you're like, oh, like how does it even happen? Like how do you even do that? And then you get to go on set and you get to learn a bit and you go, oh, like I see the system now. And now I can jump into it and try to like figure it out for myself. And so I feel like, yeah, there's just been a renewed like excitement about my business where it's like, cool, like I feel like I have the tools, I understand the tools, and now I just need to get better at like working them and making them better. So I think, yeah, just a massive like, there's just excitement there because I have a path I can go on now. Before it was like,
Sure.
I have no idea where to go, what to do next.
For
now
sure.
It's like, I have a lot to do. I know what I should do. It's really like clear. And then I think, yeah, how I feel is, for me personally, I think I've gotten a ton of confidence out of this. Like I would say, if you knew me at the beginning of this process about 6 months ago, and you met me and you spoke to me, hey, what do you do? And we talked about business. My demeanor was totally different and just way less confident is basically how I describe it. And now today, I feel like because of a couple different things, but because I know what I'm doing is valuable, and two, I'm not super afraid of sales or hearing no anymore because it's happening consistently. So I just feel like there's like a whole different like confidence about my work that I'm just like, I don't know, it just feels better. I'm more proud of what I do, and can easily have conversations about what I do and how I can help people. Yeah, and I think that also it just comes in like the tone, like you said conviction. Like I was probably saying similar things, but there's like a different tone that I am able to use now because of what I believe.
Yeah, 100%, dude. Like, yeah, man, I think the confidence and just you feeling like empowered about, that where your next client's going to come from. Like, I think one of the things that I was like really caught my attention was when you told me you had that $7,500 project on the line and then you just turned it down because it wasn't going to be a good fit. You weren't vibing with the product, with the message and stuff. And I'm like, dude, even though I'm like, obviously I wanted you to get the win, but it's like, I think that even in itself is a win. The fact that like, dude, I don't need to say yes to crappy clients anymore, because I know that I got 5-10 more calls lined up, and not being in this place of like desperation and like, oh, I really need to say yes because otherwise I don't know when I'm going to get my next client. I think that was huge. Dude. And then, okay, one last thing and then we'll get to the end, but basically, obviously you started messing around with ads, right? And I love that story about you doing that ad for that artist. Could you share that about just how crazy that was?
It's insane. And I think that's the cool part about what we get to do is like we are genuinely helping people. Like for me, it's like I love getting to work with people who like are super passionate about what they do and they're doing something that's actually amazing because I get to come in there and just amplify that and tell people about it. So the first ad I ran, like I was brand new going through, I hadn't even done my ads yet, but I was helping a friend. He's a painter. He's 80 years old. He wanted people to come to his house. His house looks like a gallery of like art, and he was going to go put flyers around the street. Like he was going to go like, come to my house, come to my art show. He sells like legit art, like $5,000 original art pieces. Like, and I was like, dude, I was like, let's not do that. Let's not do that. Give me 30 seconds. I have my camera. I was like, let's just record an ad. I'm trying this new ad thing out. Like, we'll say where you are. We'll talk about your audience. We'll talk about what we want them to do. We recorded it, I think, in like 20 minutes. I used some old B-roll. Together we ran it as a boosted post, spent $70 total and got 100 people to DM him and like 50 people to show up like at his house. Like it was insane. And that he's run that ad a couple times and has like to this day is the best ad I've ever made. You can't present a genuine place, you know what I mean? Like that,
Yeah.
I was really happy about that, and that it
Yeah.
helped him.
That's amazing, dude. Yeah, I love that. I love like, and for me, that's why I love the advertising piece because like you really get to help people, you know, and your videos have a bigger impact. You know, you're already doing great work. It's like you just add more fuel to the fire, you know, and that's what the advertising piece does, which is super cool. Well, sweet man, thanks so much for jumping on. This has been great. I guess to finish things off, right? Anybody who is interested in joining us in the collective. What would you say to them, dude?
Yeah, I would say just like a cold plunge, man. Like if you're committed to doing this, if this is something you want to pursue, there's a ton of value and you will be way further ahead than if you try to just figure this out on your own. You get to kind of just like skip a lot of that figuring it out by yourself and jump right into it. So yeah, I think it's just like a cold plunge where it's just like, man, that's going to suck to do. And it's going to suck to do. It's going to cost some money and it's going to cost some time. But once you get in there and you see the benefits, you're gonna be like, oh, I'm so happy I jumped in here. So yeah, I would say, yeah, if you're committed to that, if this is what you want to do, this has been insanely valuable for me. So yeah, I would say jump in and hi, I'm in there.
Yeah, come in, say hi to David. Yeah, man, thank you so much, dude. I really appreciate you jumping on and sharing your story. Yeah, and I'm super pumped for just the continued success that you're gonna have, and I'm really excited, dude. I'm really excited to see it unfold. You know, so sweet, brother. If anybody wants to connect with you, where can we send them? What's your website? What's your Instagram?
Yep, storybyimage.com and then storybyimage on Instagram. Shoot
Sweet,
me a
yeah.
message, critique my ads, tell me how they could be better.
Yeah, go check out David's work because it's amazing. You can get some inspiration off of that. And yeah, all right. Thank you guys. We'll catch you on the next one. See y'all. Bye bye.